doing first? We're doing
TIRZ first,
TIRZ
SMDA
first.
second. That's right.
All right, I'll call this meeting to order for June 15th, 2023 for the City of Manvel, TIRZ Zone Number 3. And we have a roll call. I'm here. Nicole?
Present.
Kim?
Present.
Position 4 is vacant. And Devin?
Here.
All right. Do we have public comments? Seeing none. We have the approval of the board minutes dated April 27th, 2022.
No.
Wait.
20th.
What are you saying to me?
2023?
Well, it
The
says
date is the 20th, not the 27th.
dated. I'm in the wrong
Oh, you're looking at the
place.
minutes themselves.
Yeah, I sure am.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. You know, some things you just can't correct, and I'm one of them, obviously. Okay, so we have approval of the board minutes dated April 20th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 4-0. Project status update for Seven Oaks, Meridiana.
All right, can we go back one?
First.
We can do the annual report, though.
No, because I just wanted, no, just kidding. Annual report, approval of the 2021 annual report.
All right, thank y'all very much, we appreciate it. You have in your packet the annual report. I apologize that since we lost our finance director in January, it took a little bit longer than anticipated to get all the numbers. The key page, I guess, is actually the last page. It's a spreadsheet, and it shows the years. It starts with 2010 and goes to 2021. It kind of looks like this, if you found it. It's the last page. It's kind of the breakdown of what was collected in the TIRZ. And if you actually go down to the last 4 lines, those are kind of the important ones. It says total TIRZ tax collected in 2021, it was $268,968.94. And then you go down 2 lines, the cost of service payment, which was $68,370, which left a net amount, the fund balance for this year, of $200,598.94. So that's the net that was collected in the TIRZ this year. And if you go just to the right of that, it's $452,772.24. That's the amount that has been collected in the TIRZ since it began. So that's what's in the bank, as it were, that the TIRZ has to spend right now. It is, obviously, there are houses and things that are being built in the district more every day. That number is going to go up dramatically as those houses get built and then obviously come online with the appraisal districts. Those people are then going to be paying property taxes, and then that line item or that column in the future is actually going to go up quite substantially. But obviously, we've only collected $200,000 net in this year. If you think about it, the appraisal district says whatever is on the ground on December 31st, it comes into the taxing entity the following October. And the city, the school, the county, all those taxing entities impose their property tax rate at that time. And if they're paid by escrow or something, usually that's in December or January, February. So it's what's on the ground December 31st The tax rate is set in the following October, and it's generally paid the following January. So it has to be, it's almost a year from the time that it's on the ground, from the time, till the time that the taxes are actually paid. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. It's a big spreadsheet that the finance director has put together in the past. It talks about the different things that go into it, but those sort of the bottom numbers are the ones that are the most important thing for the TIRZ to look at. And then obviously SMDA is going to get the exact same report as well. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions? Any discussion? Good to go.
Okay. And then there'd be an approval of that if you
All right.
are ready to go with that.
Do I have a motion to approve the annual report?
I make a motion to approve the annual TIRZ report.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Were you in favor? Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay. And it's unanimous 4-0. All right, next, 7 Oaks Meridiana, tried to rush it, project status update.
Thank you.
All right. So what I handed out has a list of the projects that have been completed for the TIRZ and submitted to the city. I think since I was last year to give an update in person, I think we've brought on 16 new sections. And then we've obviously built Pursley Boulevard, the length of the district, and Meridiana Parkway had been done for a while. So I also want to mention, I send a quarterly report with all the updates. Is everybody getting that? And there's anything that anybody needs to see changed, or is it easy to understand? It should just be all the activity in that quarter, then I follow up with all the invoices and any change orders or anything else that may be in there. So, like I said, we've been building out, there's two sections, or there's two MUDs that overlap into this, and 56 and 57 that all encompass in this TIRZ. And most of the activity up to now has been in the 56 side on the west side of the creek, but we're starting to jump over onto the other side now, so we'll see activity throughout the entirety of the district. We had the road already go all the way through. We've added some detention ponds on that west side of the creek, so we're definitely moving that way. The school is on the other side. That should be open next year, as well as we've got some commercial and some other things going. There's also some commercial that should come online along Highway 6. That's also in the district, so it's good to see that going. Other than that, the sections that I mentioned we bring on, those aren't really the TIRZ projects. The TIRZ projects are usually the things that are associated with it, the roadways, the detention ponds, the parks, and then all the landscaping associated with that. So everywhere that we've built a section, we've been coming in right behind it and doing the landscape portions. And that's a lot of what you see, the roadways and the landscape portions on the project list here. So that's kind of the development-wise what we have going. Are there any questions specifically on development or what's coming up or anything that's been built?
I'm just curious, because I do go down that south, 1128 south, and that whole area that has caused the ruckus in the horseshoe, kind of the bend area over there, just because it's development coming. When is that coming?
I'm not familiar where.
Probably across the gates.
Yeah, across from Gates Loop.
Yes?
Probably from.
Along County Road 67 on the south side.
Yeah, so it'll probably be a couple more years.
Yeah, we're years.
Oh, is that
away.
right? Okay, yeah.
So we have developed a little bit to the west of that, where Cumulus Drive ties in.
Yeah,
But from there will be more coming along the parkway and spreading along the parkway, so.
yeah, well, Cumulus, I mean, that's all very pretty back in there,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's,
So So like, that's a good
started.
example, that roadway we finished, and we've landscaped half of it.
Yeah.
That first half, I think, is
Yeah.
completed, and we've just cut loose the contractor, got the approval to get them going, so they should be starting
Yeah.
this month on that second half, and we'll have that landscape all the way through to.
Well, it's really nice, and coming from being as though 1128 or South Masters was the only way to get back to, say, where we lived, now going over Meridiana Parkway and coming up Zoya or whatever, it's Cumulus is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's Zoya the other way. And then coming up that way is really, it's just amazing how much has developed. I don't know if you guys have been back there, but you should take a drive. It's pretty amazing how our portion is now coming into being. Yeah,
Oh,
so,
I should mention as well, the wastewater plant, which will serve this district, is also, it's in its final completion stage. They're getting all their startup done this week. And
oh, that's
it
good.
should be, I think, operating hopefully next week.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's been
Yeah.
a long time coming, so we're excited to get it going. And then there's 2 lift stations or 3 actually, that are in construction as well that coordinate with that. So as soon as this gets operational, then they'll flip those and turn them on, so the system will be operating.
Who knew we'd be living a period of our lives where a wastewater treatment plant was just so exciting, you know? Who knew? So,
There is just one other thing, speaking of exciting, the Adventure Cove also opened up, just last month.
Beginning of May, right?
Yeah, so that's something that's not on this list that Brian handed out that we're finaling out. That's a TIRZ project. That's, another $12 million to the list, so, and I think it's worth noting that, there's a number, these are just completed jobs of what Brian provided, but there's probably somewhere between 20 to 30 million more that are TIRZ-related projects that are in the works, that are not final. So it's, it's a significant number when it comes to that. And I guess, you want me to go through that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and I guess it's worth mentioning, that in the handout that Brian provided, there's the second page and the third page is really worth noting. The second page is an estimate of value just for MUD 56 as of March 1. So it's 302 million. So that's just, so MUD 56 is one, it's a small component of the overall TIRZ. So I know the report that Kyle just went over, I think it takes values from 2021, so a couple years ago. This is as of March, so so this is more realistic as far as what the value that's really out there. And so you can see that there's just a ton of value that's been added. This is from the appraisal district. This isn't from us. So you can kind of see the value. And then the third sheet is what I really want to talk about is with all the expenditures that we've done, the obligations that we've met, the intent of this is to say, we're at the point where we think bonds should be issued by the TIRZ. To put things in context, the Iowa Colony TIRZ, which is the identical documents that this TIRZ has as well. You can see the value. We did some values where you can see they had about 350 million of value as of August of last year. They've issued 5 bonds, totaling about 27 million. The MUD that I just mentioned, with 300 million, they've issued 4 bonds totaling 34 million. And then the last group is Manvel TIRZ. So that number is basically what I did is I took the 302 million, and plus the 51 million that we had from 2021. So that's how we come up with 353. But we're in the process of getting an estimate of value, and maybe the city's already received a preliminary certified value. I don't know if they have. I know, so we should get one in the next couple days, because we requested one. But clearly you can see that the value is there to support some bond issuances and the size of the bond issuances based on what the other assessed values are. So that's what we would formally request is the TIRZ board, hire bookkeepers and FAs and bond counsel, bond underwriters, so bonds can start to be issued. Thank you.
Let me turn it on. One of the things that, and I don't know exactly what the debt issuance or the debt service for these bonds for the other, for Iowa Colony and the other MUD, but the city just issued $35 million in debt, in certificates of obligations, kind of the same thing as bonds. But the fee schedule, the debt schedule has about a $2 million per year debt service for the next 30 years. So the TIRZ only brought in $200,000. I don't know that we can issue $30 million in debt because that's what we issued in March. It cost $2 million for $35 million. $200,000, and of course, that would be a question for the financial advisor. Probably Hilltop Securities is who the city uses, and we could talk to them about it. But if you're talking a $2 million debt service every year on $35 million, if you only have $200,000 coming in, you're probably looking at a tenth of that. So there may be a possibility of doing a small bond issuance or debt issuance, but according to the debt survey or debt schedule that we have for the city, you're looking at $2 million for a $35 million debt issuance. So, and we can of course bring Hilltop Securities in and let them talk to you about what is possible. We can have that at a future meeting and have Joe Morrow come in and do that very thing.
All right, Matt?
I would just say, I'm not suggesting that you issue $35 million worth of debt. Obviously, both in Iowa Colony and the MUD 56, those have been a series of bond issuances, ranging, I think the highest is 10 million and the lowest is 5 million. But clearly the value's there. I think it's worth noting that the numbers, the 200,000 is as of, I think, 2021. The reports, so we're in 2023. So that, there's some, and I recognize there's some timing difference as far as when funds are collected, but the financial analysts, Hilltop, they do a great job. They forecast that when they issue bonds. They set aside basically capitalized interest for a couple of years to cover bond payments for a couple of years in case there's issues. That's all, that they've gone through that in Iowa Colony and in the MUD to do that. So there's all these measures put in place. So it's nothing that is outside the norm, and actually it's very safe and secure. So, but I would welcome having the bond counsel, bond underwriter, financial analyst, analyze the numbers and report back of what size of bond could be issued.
Well, so, as I understand it, everybody correct me if I'm incorrect, but if this body gives consent for there to be a bond issuance, then it goes to the bond what do we call him?
Financial advisor.
Financial advisor. And we, at that point, we follow his advice.
Yeah, and I'll just, a good example is Iowa Colony, that TIRZ body just met last week. And so they gave direction to, just like yours, to their financial group and said, hey, their financial group did some numbers and they said, look, we think the bond could probably go up to 15 million and maybe as low as 5 million. So so the board said, okay, we authorize that range. Take a look and let us know and get back to us. And so then all the number crunchers work their magic and figure out what it is based on all the values and working with the county assessor to understand what taxes are going to be collected and what values are out there, and then they put it all together.
Okay. Well, we have been reticent in the recent past. So are there any questions or discussion from board members?
So you were saying the taxing kind of comes in December, and then, so this assessed value, 3,123, that 353 million, that actually will start hitting the taxing in December, is that?
No, that was what was probably on the ground as of December. And then what happens is that, and plus some additional stuff, but generally, the appraisal district, for taxing purposes, they determine what the value that's on the ground as of December, because that's what goes into the property tax equations that the taxing jurisdictions use, that they set, and then that's probably in September. It takes effect with the fiscal year October 1st. Those tax bills go out after the taxing entity sets that tax rate, and then December is usually when you'll get your tax bill, and it usually gets paid in January. So it's the value, the December before, October is when the tax rate is set, and then in January is when the tax bill is actually paid.
So even though this says as of March 1st, this actually would have hit the December,
Well,
was the appraisal in December?
At least 302 of it would have been, my guess.
I guess to put it in, maybe my mind thinks a little different. That 300 million, that will generate roughly 1.5 million in taxes in January. The TIRZ will collect that money this coming January. And so the way that the bond issuances are done is they take that into account. And so say a bond is issued September of this year, based on these numbers, they take that into account. You know, there's two bond payments. And I think it's really worthy of having Hilltop come in and walk through all these nuances. But they usually do bond payments twice a year, and they're in line with when the TIRZ receives tax money from the county. So there's no issues in that regard.
All right, anybody else?
What is a cost, what would be a cost to the city or to us, to the TIRZ, whatever, wherever the money comes from?
From the TIRZ.
From the TIRZ?
Yeah.
What does it cost to have Hilltop do what he's talking about?
Most of the time, what they'll do is if you're talking about a debt issuance, they will do all of that information beforehand, and then they'll roll it into the cost of the debt issuance. You know, if there's $10 million in issue costs, the financial advisor, the bond counsel, the attorney general, everybody gets their little cut out of that, and then the balance is what is actually available. But there's not, I don't ever know of anything that's paid up front like that, unless, I guess, if there was something that you wanted them to do outside of a bond consideration, maybe there's a cost. But I would bet even that they probably do for free, because they're going to make more than enough money in the bond. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, they do it for Iowa Colony.
Yeah.
And I think they're one of the bond counsels or bond underwriters.
Yeah.
And
You don't have to worry about it.
they've said, look, we'll do all this work.
Yeah.
You're basically pro bono unless a bond is issued. If no bond's issued, pro bono. If a bond's issued, then here's our.
We'll get it.
And they have some.
There's
fee
our
structure.
bucket, whatever it
Sure.
is. Yes. So nothing up front that the TIRZ would have to worry about. That would be built into the cost of the issuing the debt.
Kim? Oh, excuse me. You have more? Okay,
I'm okay.
okay. Anything? All right, and I know that with the money that the city just went out for certificates of obligation, the criteria was a fund balance and a AA+ rating. And what is the criteria? Only not only, but the value on the ground, that's it.
And the sales tax, because there's two parts that actually go into it, so.
Okay.
But sort of the total revenue that the TIRZ collects, property tax and sales tax, would be what is used to actually pay for the debt service for that debt issuance.
Okay.
There wouldn't be anything sort of outside of the TIRZ that would pay for it. There isn't anything that the city would be responsible for. It's just the money that's collected inside the TIRZ boundary.
Yeah, it's all encapsulated.
Right.
Okay. All right, so are we on is this an action item that we need to do something about?
I don't know that there's specifically an action item, but I can sort of take direction, as it were. If that's
Okay.
what you want to do, we can ask Joe to come to the next meeting and just kind of, I'll sort of explain to him what you have in mind is how do we do the first issuance and give him some numbers and let him come up with some information for y'all to, for him to present to you.
Well, I would be in favor of that. I'm getting
think it's
some head nods.
Fair.
And just for me, I mean, I only can speak for myself, but we can ask Joe to kind of dumb it down so he can, I'm just,
He will provide
I'm
the
not talking
information.
for you, just for me.
Sure.
He is very good at talking to everybody. So,
Yeah, okay, so,
Mm-hmm.
all right,
very good.
so there we have it.
And I just gotta ask, is that when you say next meeting, is it a year from now? Or is it like?
Bingo.
Like a month from now or a week from now?
So the next
2025, just kidding.
days, there's, if you want to keep it on consistent with tonight's meeting, there's either July the 13th or July the 20th, which would be several weeks away, long enough to give Joe an
That's my
opportunity.
question.
We kind of have to work around his schedule, obviously.
Right.
But I could try for those dates that those work for y'all.
Yeah.
All
There-
right.
There's also a possibility, and Dan keeps a list as well. You have $450,000 in the bank, and we were just kind of looking at projects that are close to that amount, and there's a Pursley Boulevard Phase 7 that's $511,000. You could actually use your cash and pay off most of one of the projects, if you wanted to do that. You know,
Well, I
we'd have
see
to
every
keep
reason to
we'd
do
have to keep
that.
a scorecard, because there's another $60,000 or whatever that would have to be paid to completely pay off that one, but that's a possibility as well.
How does paying a cash amount potentially impact future debt issuance?
Well, you're saving interest on that,
Right.
you know,
But
that's,
we don't, what we have in the bank doesn't necessarily impact future opportunities to issue a debt.
when a debt issuance is done, the financial advisor is going to give a schedule based on what they think future collections are going to be.
What we're getting in.
Right. This is going to sound bad, but you don't have enough in savings to pay for a large debt issuance, even sort of the safety net. But if you paid off, one of these projects, then obviously you're not paying 4, 5, 6% interest over 25 years on that $500,000. So you are going to save a good amount of money over the next 2 or 3 decades, depending on how long that debt issuance is for, 20 years, 25, 30 years.
What am I seeing?
Yeah, I'll just add, so there's another component here that is really worthy of noting, is all of these jobs that are completed are accruing an interest block. And so usually, not that paying off, we'll take any money we can get, right? But you want to focus on the oldest projects, so your interest, so you're cutting off the interest block on those older projects first. And that's usually, I'll just use Iowa Point. They've gone after it from the approach of, let's get rid of all the old projects and bond issuances so we can stop the interest block and limit the cost. And so you'll basically pay off the project as quickly as possible under that approach. So just, the financial advisor would probably be able to evaluate that and tell you which is the best way to go in that regard.
Okay. Didn't know that was in the same billywhack, but,
You're going to be paying interest, yes on the
Okay.
project, but definitely on the bonds,
Right.
so.
do
Okay.
you have something?
We can
Kim?
talk to Joe?
Yes, I have
have a general TIRZ
Okay.
question.
Certainly.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question.
Go for it.
But just for my own education and knowledge, you mentioned Adventure Cove is in the TIRZ project. I'm wondering, do the projects in the TIRZ project, do all of the projects, do they benefit the entire community, all citizens? Or like, using Adventure Cove as an example, is that private only to, I don't even know where that's located, but to those people in that neighborhood? Is it a private?
No, actually, it's technically, it's public. And the way that is set up is the residents in Manvel, and, I'm sorry, the residents in Meridiana, they pay HOA dues. If you don't live in Meridiana, you're assessed 3 times the annual assessment to access those facilities. So anybody can access them, it's just you have to pay a fee.
Okay.
And what does that round out to about?
It's about $3,000 a year for non-Meridiana residents, roughly.
Okay.
Okay, that answers my question. I wasn't sure if it was private and if everything that falls under the TIRZ had to be like beneficial to everyone. Okay,
Right.
but that answers my question, thank you.
And when do you anticipate that being completed?
It's completed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
open.
completed?
Yeah.
That lazy river?
No, it's awesome. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh,
It's
well,
fantastic.
I'll just have to write a check, huh?
Only cost you $3,000 to get
That's
it.
it.
For those grandbabies.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, and I will say,
Write a check.
the way it's set up is it's not only, that fee not only covers, facilities within the Manvel side of Meridiana, but it also covers facilities in the Iowa Colony side of Meridiana. So the public can enjoy both sides, by paying those dues.
So you pay the 3,000 and you get access to all of the amenities in Meridiana, not just Adventure Cove?
Correct.
Got it.
Like what?
So we have other pools, we have another gym, we have a conservatory, we have an ambassador's yacht, so a number of other facilities. Tennis courts, pickleball courts, those kind of things.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Still got that yacht going, huh?
yeah, still got the yacht.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna have Joe come and talk to us. I will not be in town on the 20th.
Would the 13th work if we?
13th's better for me also.
Okay.
What month is that again?
July.
I won't be.
The
I won't be
13th
here.
you won't be?
I won't be here, either date, actually.
She's got a month-long trip, apparently. Just kidding, I don't know for sure.
This is just a suggestion, but can you pick a couple of dates and send it to her? And instead of her trying to just throw out a date and say, is
Yeah.
anybody available? Maybe y'all can coordinate it just by email to figure out in the very near future when you are available. That way I can let Joe know and he can get it on his calendar as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm open to another day of the week as well. Just,
Yeah, flexible.
Okay.
If you send me not suggested dates of the meeting, but definite no dates,
Okay.
that'll make it much easier.
Okay.
for
you
me.
can tell she's done this before, can't
Yes.
you?
When you're not available.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
available at this time, this day.
All right. We'll try to land that, so, okay? All right.
Okay.
Okay. Do we don't have any staff reports?
No?
And so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have a unanimous motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Now we're going to start for the South
That's exactly-
Manvel Development Authority. Maybe I'll get this one right. And so, we adjourned that one. We're going to open the South Manvel Development Authority for June 15th, 2023. We're going to go through the necessary roll call once again. I'm here, Nicole Mitchell.
Here, present.
Kim Bickham.
Present?
And Devin Jones.
Here.
Position 4 is vacant. How is that filled? When does that,
The council does that.
so council will do that?
In the past, it's been the finance director, just to provide the
Oh,
background.
that spot has been filled
Yes,
by the
so
finance.
we may ask Rosie to sit in on that, have the council appoint her to that position.
Okay, all
So-
right. I knew that, I just wanted it to be out in the
Right,
open.
right.
Everybody to know. All right, do we have any public comments? Don't see any. Approval of the board minutes dated April 20th, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote of 4-0. And annual report, approval of the 2021 annual report.
Do we have to redo that, or has it already been done?
It's the same thing.
But we do have to formally?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two entities.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I move to approve the annual report for 2021 SMDA TIRZ.
All right,
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, and it's a 4-0. And so, here we go, Seven Oaks Meridiana project status update.
Same as the last one.
Yes.
Unless there's any new questions.
You know, I've always been so formal, sorry. You know.
The
Yeah,
last 2.5 minutes.
Well, we might have sold another house.
yeah, and we're gonna go
Let's
ahead and
hope.
hope so, okay? Staff reports, any? All right, Salem,
Technical question.
yes?
For the next meeting on the debt issuance, that has nothing to do with SMDA loans. For the next meeting for the debt issuance, it's just the
no,
TIRZ that would have.
Because
to
I
do
think
that.
what would happen first is actually just informational. And since they're mostly the same people,
Is one over money and one over land, is that the difference?
yeah, TIRZ projects, and then SMDA is the one that actually uses the money. TIRZ collects it, gives it to SMDA, and they actually spend it. So-
So the debt issuance would be issued, and then we'd have an SMDA meeting to actually give
Give
the
it to
money?
them.
Ah, makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
TIRZ is the husband.
Yep.
TIRZ is the
Why did you say
husband. SMDA is the wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how it works
The
at my
money coming in
house.
and the money going out. Let's just say that.
There you go. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the motion carries 4-0. Thank you
Okay.
very much.